Tonight, we're going to be talking about Halloween. We're going to be talking about Space 220 finally getting an opening date. We're going to be talking about some food and wine booths that just got added and a whole bunch more tonight on ParksCenter. What's up, everyone? Welcome to ParksCenter. I'm Rob Whiteside, and tonight we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we've got a great panel. To start us off tonight is, if I can find them, there they are. It's let's start with Kevin Lake. Kevin, how's it going?
Good. How's it going, Rob?
Good, good. Thanks for being on tonight. And Coach, how are you?
How's everybody doing? It's game time. Let's do this. Let's get going. Excited to get talking.
Yes, absolutely. Pep us up. We need it tonight. And for the first time on ParksCenter, but from Pressing Issues, Stephanie, how are you?
Hey, everybody. Hi, Rob. Thanks so much for having me here.
Absolutely. We're very excited. So tonight, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, but one of the things that just happened is there was a big party, a big Halloween party. I wasn't invited, but Kevin went. And so a lot of stuff happening with the Boo Bash. So the Boo Bash, we're not going to talk about Space 220 yet. We're going to talk about the Boo Bash. Happened the other night. And Kevin, you were there to witness the whole thing in person. Give us a little bit of your thoughts on it.
Yeah, it was a well-executed event. We'll say that. I mean, in the era of COVID, that's probably the place to start. You know how we go on. And in that say well, it was not particularly crowded, even though they started selling tickets and kind of last minute to those in work. Still was pretty low and low waits for urgents. That being it as Tom said, it was this was not Mickey's Not So Scary. This was like one of the after hours that were two. It's a different sort of thing. It's more like an true after hours event. But entertainment standpoint, it was very lacking. That was the thing. No shows, parades. You did get arcades, which were akin to what we got last year for free if you were in the park today, and those were at best. So yeah, I mean, overall a well done event, but pretty bare bones.
Yeah, for those of you who don't speak lag, one of the things that one of the things that really kind of stands out for me about Not So Scary and how it's been recently, or I say recently, but the last time it existed, which I guess was October 2019, is that it was getting too crowded. That people would say, I'm paying this huge price to get in, and when I get there, I got to choose like one or two things to do because the lines are going to be so long. At least in this particular case, you have that Disney After Hours, like the event kind of feel. And I've done Disney After Hours before. Tom said in the article that it's probably geared more towards people who are from out of town. Tourists, I mean, something Disney World geared toward tourists, that's insane. But when you go into, to pay this much money, which is $129 to $199 for the ticket, depending on the night, you expect it to be, if you're expecting Mickey's Not So Scary, that's not what you're getting. And so when you guys, I don't know, Coach, have you ever been to Mickey's Not So Scary?
Yeah, I think some people, for me, it was a big opportunity to see a lot of different characters that you typically don't see. I think it's kind of Disney's way of forcing people to go in a lot of ways. But it was cool, but now you take the meet and greets away, and then it just becomes really overpriced trick-or-treating. I know a lot of people had said, the best thing that you can do as somebody who's taking your kids to something like that is to buy 5 giant bags of candy and bring them with you in the park, and then kind of skip that portion of the trick or treat event and just kind of go to all the meet and greets. But again, it to your point, it got really, really, really crowded, and it was kind of like, wow, it was almost. It used to be sort of like an after hours event where when you went, you get to ride a bunch of stuff, and it was super crowded. It was one of those things. Okay, we'll never have to do this again. So that was kind of our experience.
Who hurt you, man? Wow, that's awful. Stephanie, have you ever been to a one of the after hours parties?
Yes. In fact, I guess it was 2017 when we started going to after hours events and we loved it. Of course, we would go in February, so it was already low season, but we would ride things like Splash Mountain 4 or 5 times in a row and be the only ones in a log. It was amazing. And we would do that again and again, and we would do it with other rides too. It's a Small World and everything. And, you know, you get the free ice cream, the free popcorn, and the kids, as long as they nap, they're doing well at midnight. But I agree. We were at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party in 2018, and it was just way overcrowded. You go for the parade and not so much for the rides in that event.
So I agree with you. So this is what we wanted to do is kind of have tonight. We're going to have our first panel discussion here about Halloween because, again, yeah, obviously it's August 15th. We should be talking about Halloween. I got my Jack Skellington stuff on. I got my Zero popcorn bucket behind me. Stephanie's decked out. Coach, I don't even know what's going with you, man. So, yeah, he's just committed to the Donald Duck thing, and that's it. And I love that about you. So when we start talking about Halloween and Disney, I just want to share like my kind of foray into it. When I was a little kid, I loved Disney so much, and we would always go, and I didn't really care about the holiday or the season stuff. And so, you know, until I started seeing the Christmas parades on TV, and I always thought it was live, and I always thought, oh, all these people are so lucky to be there at Christmas on Christmas Day. I was hoodwinked. It was all recorded. But the idea of all of those decorations in a park where you're like, I've been here all the time. I would love to go see what it's like at Christmas meant so much to me, but it was always kind of an awkward time to go around the holidays. So, you know, obviously since then I've been, but the first time I saw the Halloween thing, I was there for a press event, and they said, oh, do you want tickets to the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party? And this was 2003. First time I had ever been. I was like, yeah, and I just was in awe of all the people in costumes, like the next level of costumes, by the way. I mean, if you guys, and I hope you guys have stories to share, but like there was like this guy dressed up as the Evil Queen, looked exactly like the Evil Queen. It was fantastic. And then, you know, the trick-or-treating thing, the very first time I took my dad to that, you know, kind of like, Coach, to your point, he was bound and determined that he was going to get his money's worth in candy. You know, so he was like, you know, going around and like filling up bags of candy. And I mean, it was a really neat time. And that was my first time. But my first time seeing it, I was like, this is definitely something that I want to come back for. So, you know, let me start with you, Kevin. Are you kind of tired of seeing Halloween stuff at the parks? Or as somebody, a reporter who goes in all the time and somebody who's local to be able to go, is it still kind of a special time for you?
Spooky ambassador.
Are you muted?
He's spooky muted.
Okay.
Take two, action.
Yeah. Yeah, flag. It's nice. Definitely not tired of it yet, but feel weird at least when it's, you know, 99 degrees. It's when there's tropicals coming in, which not that doesn't happen during October. So it's think that might thin a little bit with food and wine, where, you know, hey, it's here early, and then a month into it, it's like, okay, you know, this is on a little long, but the time where it's appropriate. If that's...
Yeah, you're like, come on, bring in the Christmas tree sometime around like late September. You're like, okay, we've done this. Let's move on to the next one. You know, but this year, like, you know, I feel like they've kind of tweaked it up a little bit with some of the decorations, like the pumpkins that we've seen that are, and we talked about it last week on ParksCenter, the ones that are like shaped like, you know, the restroom signs and, you know, the hot dog and all that kind of stuff. I think that's really a neat touch to do on it. But I can imagine. I don't know if you guys saw this last year, and I wish I had it queued up and ready to go. The woman who walked into the park and was crying because it wasn't spooky. Did you guys see that last year? It was like on Instagram or oh my gosh. It's like I wanted to reach through and just like shake her, because at that point we were so excited just to get back to the parks, and she's like, I came and it's not spooky. I mean, and this wasn't like a 4-year-old. This was like a 24-year-old, and it was just like, I mean, I get it. It's like, if it's your tradition, that's fantastic. But we were just lucky to get back in the gates around that time last year. And I'm sure so many other parks around the world ended up closing again. I'm sure they had that concern. But, let me go, Stephanie, back to you and ask you, have you been at Halloween? And if so, what are the things that you love the most about being there at Halloween?
Absolutely. We have, my twins are born on Halloween, so that is a big birthday day, and we get cake and ice cream and candy for them every year. But we went on their third birthday, and that was back in 2013, and we had 10 people. We dressed up as the cast from Peter Pan, and I'm talking about, we had the Tiger Lily and Chief, and we had the alligator and everything. We had everybody. We had Nana the dog. We had everyone, and that was fantastic because, again, prior to COVID, we got to bring swords and things like that into the park as well. Now there's some restrictions on what you can do for your costuming, but it was really fun.
Okay, I want to point out or ask a question. Who was who in that scenario? Like when you were dressed up?
My twins were Tinkerbell and Peter Pan. I was Wendy, and my husband was Captain Hook, and his mother was Smee, and his sister was the crocodile.
Wow. Awesome. I could just see them handing his sister the crocodile costume, going, you know what? I'm sorry, this is all that's left. And she's like, okay.
She brought it. She did it on her own, and she rocked it. She really did.
Man. 10 points for Gryffindor. That's fantastic. She should totally win some sort of a prize. So here's the thing about this, though, that kind of bothers me, and no shade at you. Please, no, there's no shade at you about this, is sometimes the costumes don't seem to make sense because of the relationships that the people have in their families. Like when I saw one once where the mom was dressed as Tiana, and the son was dressed as Prince Naveen, and I'm like, you know what? I mean, it's Halloween. Do what you want to do, but I'm like, my brain can't get like wrapped around that kind of thing. So, it's a problem. It's a problem. Coach, Halloween experiences?
My husband didn't want to wear tights.
You want me to follow that up, Rob?
Nope. It's all you, man.
All right. So, I wouldn't either. All right. No. Yeah. I think the cool part was you do see some next level costumes. You also see what I like to call we're going to a Halloween thing. What can I find at the convenience store to turn into a costume when I walk in as well, which is always nice.
Is that you? Do you do that?
No. We it was interesting. There were people that had like "Hello, my name is" name tags and random stuff like that, which I thought was almost as cool as the people that spent way too much, probably hundreds of dollars on their costumes and stuff. But it is unique in the fact that you can walk around as an adult. Obviously, they have the rules where you can't. I think that's kind of cool. And I did see with the character meet and greets, a lot of people that had dressed up with the intent of meeting specific, whether it be Jack Skellington or whoever. Those limited edition characters where they kind of interacted in costume, which I thought was pretty cool. I actually saw Jack Skellington sort of making fun of somebody who was trying to be in Jack Skellington costume, which was pretty funny. He was just kind of looking at him like, hey, I like what you're wearing there, but got to step your game up. It was pretty funny. He was just insulting him the whole time, and everybody was loving it. So I think it does lend itself to those type of experiences, which I think are unique to the Halloween portion of that.
Yeah, and you know what? Just back to a point Kevin made was a lot of times Food and Wine is happening the same time as Halloween. So I think a lot of people make this a destination time of year to go. And schools are sometimes, it depends on the school system, but some schools are out for like an October break. But I think usually if you're bringing your kids to this thing, you're usually taking them out of school to do it. So, or you got to find somewhere to leave them and don't tell them you're going to Disney, and then you just go, by yourself, and then you make your husband wear the tights. I think that's how that works. But So, but I mean, but food and wine, I mean, like that's a great pairing. You like that, Kevin? So when you go down there and you know you're going to take advantage of as much as possible, it does really seem like a good time to go. Now, when food and wine starts in July, you know, and then you know we have Halloween in August. I mean, I guess you know, let's back it up to March next time, right? And then the other thing that I think that we kind of touched on about this is Not So Scary. Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party had so much more going for it than Boo Bash, right? Like you were talking about, Coach, you were talking about the meet and greets. A lot of people go just to get their picture taken with these characters, as you mentioned, that don't come out most of the time. Jack Skellington is more prevalent in Disneyland than he is at Disney World. People in Disneyland probably don't know what a rarity is to see Jack Skellington in the parks. Same thing with Moana. You know, she's one that they bring out that gets a huge line around that time. But back to the whole thing about it being crowded is you could spend the entire time you're there just doing character meet and greets and walk out. And you know, if you're getting in early and you're getting that $89, $99 ticket for Mickey's Not So Scary, that's one thing. If you're spending $130 to get Chip and Dale up over the, you know, Country Bears, like over your shoulder, that's you know, it's a different event, right? So it's not the same thing. But the other thing that I think is really cool about Mickey's Not So Scary is the shows. And so I don't know if do you guys have like opinions on the Sanderson Sisters shows? Stephanie, have you seen that one?
I have. I enjoyed it. When we were there in 2018, we watched it twice actually. And the pre-show to the fireworks, I want to say there was a I can't remember the name of it, but Jack Skellington came out as a puppet, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, I really miss that, and I miss that we were there in December, and we were during the day. Of course, there were no Very Merry Christmas parties, but they would break up the parade into different cavalcades, just smaller sections of the parade would go, so maybe one or two floats. And this is not, at the Boo Bash this year, is not the same thing as breaking up the Boo to You parade. I would love to see the, you know, Candy with Goofy, that whole section of the parade's not going. You know, more of the villainous characters come out during that one float than what is right now. So, and I do think that probably towards October, as we get into October, they'll probably run that during the daytime as well, is my assumption. But since they did last year. But yeah, I wish that they would have more of the entertainment.
Kevin, did they do the overlays on the attractions this year?
Nope.
See, to me, again, that's a huge thing that they've done in the past. It really made me want to like go at a time when I shouldn't be going. Are like, hey, you're taking one of my favorite attractions, kind of like, again, that they do in Disneyland. I keep harping on Disneyland only because it's better. No, I'm just kidding. But Kevin's like, yep, it is.
Well, let me also remind you, for $140 at the end of the night, there was no tram to take you to your vehicle. Like, not only are you not getting things from the party, you're spending higher prices on this after hours event and still not even getting normal park things.
It's just a 5K. That's
Yay!
The WDW5K.
But yeah, so you don't have the nighttime show, you don't have the fireworks. You know, one of the things that was very clear in the article that Tom wrote for the website, and again, if you haven't checked it out, go to wdwnt.com and read the full review, is that he made it seem like that like he was almost offended to be hanging out with Gen Pop, because you can get in at 7 o'clock, but everyone is still in from the day at 7 o'clock. And so you really, and you know, one of the parts of the article is look at these times and how long the lines were. And when you usually do a Disney After Hours event, you have the park kind of to yourself, and that's really what you're paying for, is that, you know, not waiting in the lines, exclusivity. So, you know, that and I believe that at the last Mickey's Not So Scary, you could have gotten in at 4 as opposed to 7, right? So yeah, so even less for more money, Kevin, to your point. Fantastic. So then when they don't do the overlays, like in the past, at Disneyland they do Ghost Galaxy, or have done Ghost Galaxy. They did the Star Wars overlay that on Space Mountain. They did Jack Skellington overlay on the Haunted Mansion. They do Small World Holiday, so many other overlays that we don't usually get in Florida. But for this Halloween party, they did, live actors in Pirates of the Caribbean in the past, and you had, which is where the whole Baby Powder Pete thing came from. And then you also had, the Tea Party and Space Mountain, and there was another one. What was the other one, Kevin?
No, I think those were the three.
Oh,
and they'd sometimes have a little extra in Haunted Mansion.
Right.
So not really an overlay, but you might plus it up a little bit.
Live actor.
Yeah, so that kind of stuff really, is special about Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party that I love, and I'm sad that it's not here. And in the article, he kind of alludes to the fact that we wonder if it'll ever come back, at least in the way that it was before, which would be, to me, a shame not to have it come back, because the specialty fireworks, the specialty shows like the Sanderson Sisters, the trams working. All of these things were really, are really kind of made that a very neat special event. One of the things that we haven't really talked about here is like the food and the merch. So now I think they have specialty food just for this event, which is weird if you're doing what Coach said and you're trying to get your money's worth in popcorn and candy, and not popcorn and candy, but popcorn, candy, ice cream. Yeah, and soda or water. If you're trying to get your money's worth on all that stuff, you don't. I don't know that you want to spend $6 to $12 on a snack. Coach, how do you feel about them having specialty stuff only for the party and then making you spend more money?
The frustrating thing about everything else is that you have obviously access to the free popcorn and all that good stuff, the soda and all that stuff that you have, and you're running around. The specialty stuff is good, but it doesn't really feel as exclusive. It almost feels like an upcharge. The whole point of an after hours event is you're almost paying for Fast Pass, because the idea is there's not going to be a lot of people. Anybody who's ever gone to after hour events, which I have, it's well worth it in my opinion. We did Animal Kingdom after hours, and we rode Pandora I think like 9 times in a row. It was amazing. And it was one of those things. There wasn't a lot of people, but it seems like they just keep kind of adding to it, and they're trying to take advantage of leveraging that villains component. I think, I think there should be a villains park or some sort of villains, flair on it. They used to have the villains after hour stuff. People want to see the villains and they want to buy villains merchandise. And it amazes me that Bob Chapek doesn't want to sell villains merchandise. The guy that wants to make money doesn't want to sell villains merchandise. It doesn't make sense to me, because it seems like it would do really well. So I don't think it would wear off, because I think there's a lot of people that want it. It's just you can't get it anywhere. So
what makes you think he wants to make money? That's interesting that you would convey that.
They don't even have a Boo Bash merchandise though this year.
Right. That's the other thing. So I remember going to the park and going to Mickey's Not So Scary and running around and trying to get like every bit of merchandise that they had. The Jack Skellington popcorn. The popcorn bucket, or was it a sipper that had the legs?
Sipper.
The legs to it, which is ridiculous. It's the most ridiculous thing, and I had to have it. If it was sitting, I've said this a million times, if it was sitting on a shelf in the Emporium, I probably wouldn't have wanted it. But because it was like limited edition sipper behind I had to have one, and I was freaking out that they had them. And we chased the ghost. Like there was a sipper and a popcorn and a donut holder that we like chased around and got all 3 of those, and we were buying extras, and it was like that was huge and fun, and like something I remember about that, and and all those treats and things are also Instagrammable. It's not really Instagrammable to hold up a free popcorn. Maybe it is. I don't know. But again, that's all stuff that's missing from this. So, and on the West Coast, they do the Oogie Boogie Bash. I want to go to that, but it's back this year. But it'll be interesting to see if it is a muted version of what was there before. because in the past it was you had the Redwood Creek Challenge trail like shut down, and it was kind of like a Halloween trail, and it just looked like a really cool experience, and it was all happening at DCA instead of at Disneyland. I all of that stuff looks like a lot of fun to me. I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say I don't think anybody here has gone to Oogie Boogie. Yeah. Okay. Not for lack of wanting to, though, right?
Right.
Right.
So one other thing that came up is, and I have been to Disneyland at Halloween, just not since Oogie Boogie started. But again, they already have, because I'm a huge Jack Skellington fan, I love the Haunted Mansion Holiday. They already had that set up. They set it up. It's perfect. They can set it up for Halloween and then have it go through Christmas. That was already set up, so that was really cool. Ghost Galaxy was going on at Disneyland, so that was really cool. And we did a hard-ticketed event at DCA that was, again, very similar to what we do at the Magic Kingdom, where you go around and you have trick-or-treating stations, and they had little shows and meet and greets and things like that, and characters and costumes, and it's just really, that's a really extra special thing. And I get it, we just went through a pandemic, but let me ask you this, Kevin, do you think that they're using the pandemic as an excuse?
Yeah,
I'm loading the gun. I'm loading the gun.
I'm trying to be a bit more thoughtful with this one, and in some senses, yes. Like from an entertainment standpoint, as we know from, say, Festival of the Lion King, COVID was not, something that entertainment impossible. It just made you have to be a little more thoughtful about it, and you still have to spend the money. And I think it's probably more the latter. That's the challenge. But there's no restriction that is causing us not to have a stage show at Boot Bash. It's just a choice. And now the other end of that, I think, partially is timing, because it is easy, I think, from our standpoint, to not always appreciate the amount of lead time that's involved with getting ice, with getting food, with getting shows created and lined up. And I don't know that they knew 8 months ago or 10 months ago that they'd be able to do these things. But at the same time, I don't know that they put the effort into, okay, well, what if? Let's work on a plan in case we are partially or fully able. I don't think they really explored that, and so I would do more if they had chosen to. And COVID is, of course, the easy excuse when you haven't.
Yeah, that's a great point. The show is the show specifically is what I think of when we're talking about could they have done it, because I stood there shoulder to shoulder with people for the fireworks at Happily Ever After. I know it can be done post COVID, but at the same time, for a hard ticketed event, just limit the amount of people, and they've done that with this specific one. So if you're limiting the amount of people already, it seems like this show should have been easy enough to pull off.
I think
that's the whole thing, right? We can't do parades because of spacing and crowding and things like that. Well, an after hours limited event solves that from square one. That's no longer an issue, but that's not how it's approached.
Sure. Stephanie?
I think that Stephanie. The equity dispute that they had with Equity Entertainment, I think that is probably where this lies, because a lot of the equity shows haven't come back, although I know we're talking about Beauty and the Beast later. However, the entertainment that is during the parades and the character interactions that you see, that is through Disney. So there is a difference between, who's employed there and who is working on those shows.
Yeah. So hopefully that kind of stuff will come back. And again, it's really easy, like Kevin, to your point, for us to sit here and kind of judge what they were and weren't able to pull off in a certain amount of time. But at the same time, I'm happy that there is one. Like, I'm happy that there's some event and not no event. So, while I miss what Mickey's Not So Scary was, I don't think that right before COVID, it was what it used to be either. Because again, I think they started opening up to too many people. I think that it became too crowded. I think that it probably was starting to kind of cave in on itself. And maybe this is an opportunity for them to reset, and I hope that they do. But I mean, bring back Boo to You. That's that I love that parade. I mean, that's just to
Grave
me.
diggers,
Yeah, I mean, come on, the sparks,
shovels.
fantastic. Yeah, how did you know the word I was looking for was shovel? So here's another thing though that I wanted to share with you guys is this came up in 2019 that they were doing in Hong Kong, where they were doing trails, and they did this spooky town trail, which almost literally, I kid you not, I was pricing out transportation to Hong Kong when I saw this. I'm not kidding.
That's awesome.
I've never wanted to go to China. I do want to go to Tokyo at some point because Tom made it sound like it is Mecca, and so I do want to go. But I've never really wanted to go to the China parks, and I saw this and I was like, how much does it cost to get there? When can I go? How soon can I get there? I need to see this. I don't know, and Coach, I'm just going to blindside you with this. Why can't they do stuff like these kind of like trails like they do at Halloween Horror Nights? Why can't they do that stuff, but like kid-friendly, family-friendly versions at the Magic Kingdom for this event?
My guess would be that the reason why there's overlays in Disneyland is it's different populations. They probably feel like they have to. With most of the population being annual pass holders and locals, they need to change it up. Whereas Florida, they figure it's a destination, they can get away with doing the minimum. I'm not sure which spreadsheet says that, but I'm sure there's some spreadsheets out there that they're analyzing and using. I think, again, part of it is, too, if you have a family of four and you're trying to go through that park, it's a huge expense to go to an after-hours Boo Bash. I don't know that's really what their target market is. It's almost like they're trying to get the adults-only kind of crowd. That's my guess. The answer to your question is they should be doing this, and they've slowly kind of taken stuff away, and they keep using COVID as an excuse, but down the street is Universal just building coasters and doing their thing and kind of sort of doing this to Disney across the street. So I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if there is a real answer other than I think they don't feel like they have to.
Here's the thing, though, that I want to kind of I'm going to close out with, and we'll go around real quick and let you guys close out this topic. Is that I stand by the fact they just spent $74 billion on all of this Fox IP. There's no reason they can't do a modified or upgraded version of Halloween Horror Nights at the studios with IP that they already own. It seems like it's right there, and do it for Halloween, and then turn around and do it for Christmas. Have a Kevin Home Alone Christmas house. I don't know. There's just so many opportunities with all of this IP that they've purchased that they should be using that doesn't fit in the Magic Kingdom clearly, but could have a place at a place called Hollywood Studios, and that could be something where they could compete in that space because clearly after 30 years, Universal owns that space. Kevin, any other thoughts on Halloween?
No, not too much other than, I think you'd see kind of the contrast of Boo Bash with the upcoming Christmas party, which we'll get to. And I think for me, that's the biggest thing, where it's like what this could have been, what it probably should have been. And when they are giving you the details on something that's so much better and more expensive, keep that in mind. Before the first Boo Bash event even happened, know a little bit about how much of cuts for Bash were very much deliberate and not so much of the times.
Gotcha. Stephanie, closing thoughts?
It's still one of my favorite times to go in the parks. You mentioned all the decor and the pumpkins. I still buy everything that's Pumpkin Mickey if I can find it. So I'm contributing towards that. But I think that the treat trail is a great idea. They can do it outdoors at DCA. Why can't they do it outdoors at Animal Kingdom? Why can't you do a spooky treat trail around, a Tree of Life?
That's a great idea. Yeah. And then Coach?
Yeah, so I think it's just like anything else. I think this is one of those things you probably will do one time. But I think everyone should do it at least once. Everybody's experience is kind of unique, and there are a lot of really cool characters. The decorations are awesome, and there is something special about walking down Main Street and seeing all those decorations and the different little touches. If you pay attention while you're stuck in that long line for that ride that shouldn't be long, you'll notice a lot of really cool things that you probably wouldn't pick up if you look up around and all around and stuff. And there's a lot of really cool stuff. There's a lot of good picture opportunities. There's some special magic shots that are only around during Halloween, which are kind of cool. Stuff at night, which especially by like the teacups, they do like the one that's really cool. So there's little things like that you can research that I think make it worth your while. But again, I don't know about the repeatability of it. I think they're missing out on that. But it is a good event. You should go at least once.
Very cool. Okay, and with that, we are going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come back and do our segment called Around the Hub. We're going to go through some of the latest Disney Parks news, and so don't go away.
WDWNT presents Timekeeping, a year-by-year journey through the history of the vacation kingdom of the world. Join us for the premiere Tuesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern or watch on demand anytime on the WDW News Today YouTube channel.
Welcome back to ParksCenter. I'm Rob Whiteside. Thank you guys so much for being with us tonight. We really appreciate it. Please give us a big thumbs up if you enjoy this programming, and give us a subscribe if you want to catch great shows like News Tonight, which is now back on this channel, and WDW News Today, which is your daily updates every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, also on this channel. So again, give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. And then also, do it for these people because they're working hard for you. Give them that thumbs up. So the next thing we want to do is we run through some of the news of the week. And honestly, I mean, there was so much going on this week, and I know Kevin works tirelessly behind the scenes to make sure to cover it all the time. So I want to start with the big one to me that was right out of the gate was that we're finally seeing an opening date for Space 220. There was this really cool little video that they had on the website, so check it out. If again, WDWNT.com, you can see what it, a little bit of a preview of inside this thing. But part of me is a little bit frustrated with all of the things they've been holding on to, waiting for October 1st. I mean, I get it. This is their big day. It's the show. It's October 1st. But Space 220 should have been open before February 2020, and now they're holding it off a couple more months when, again, now you see you've shown your hand, Disney. You've shown me what the inside looks like, and it looks ready to go. I'm going to start with I want to start with Stephanie on this. Have you looked at this? Do you want to make your reservations immediately?
Yes, and yes. Definitely I'm going to be one of the first ones to call as soon as I know when they are going to open. My kids love mission space and anything about that, so we are totally going to be there. I agree. I think that I think Tom said it best, that Disney's 50th, whereas they originally announced it as being the biggest celebration that Disney World's ever seen, it's not really going to be that. He said it's more of a slow rollout, a phased celebration. So this is one of those phases they're initiating. So that's what they have, and they don't have the 50 new things for the 50th like they promised, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know. Did they actually ever promise that? I know that was a rumor that I was trying to get around to everybody, is that they were going to do 50 new things for the 50th. And I assume at some point they started
Maybe
going...
you promised.
Yeah, I assume at some point they started going, hey, we painted that little castle on top of Be Our Guest. That's one. You know, I mean, like, I assumed at some point they were going to go that way. But, yeah, I mean, it would have been great if they had done 50. Coach, I mean, I feel like, you know, already you're already going to buy Walgreens candy for your kids when you take them to the parks. Do you feel like you need to take them to this very high dollar, I'm assuming high dollar event at the Space 220?
I think it's actually going to be pretty cool. I think it's one of those things where it should be unique, hopefully. It kind of seems like it should have been sort of done way before, obviously. But I'm concerned a little bit about the reservations. How tough are they going to be able to get? There was a rumor kind of floating around whether or not that if it was possible, potentially they were only going to take walk-ups. That would be interesting. So I don't know if there's any truth to that rumor, but again, it would be frustrating if you couldn't, you know, plan and have that reservation. Like Stephanie had said, she's going to be on the phone clicking away doing what she got to do to get the reservation. So I think it'll be a unique experience. It may be one of those things that was incredibly overhyped and isn't that cool, but I think we kind of have to wait and see. But I think it's going to be something different and unique in the park that they've never done before. So that's always good.
I like your psych out method. You're going to tell all these people watching, you know what, it's probably overhyped. You shouldn't go. And then meanwhile, he's like, you know, let me get in those reservations.
I'm not too pretty sure about that rumor. So
okay, cool. Kevin, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, obviously. Why am I more excited about this than I am the Star Wars Hotel?
Well, it's going to be more accessible. That's for one.
Fair.
I actually think a lot of people are more excited about Space 220 because of Galactic Caesar. I think there's just some merging of the two and thinking that, that is set in space is going to be big and an exciting thing. And I think Star Cruiser giving Space 220 a bit of that it really, in all honesty, hasn't earned, because we know nothing about it other than there's a fake space elevator. And that's kind of my stance on Space 220, is we don't really know much of anything. We don't know the food. We don't quite know what the experience will be like at your table. So I'm very much in wait and see mode on Space 220. Like California Grill is kind of my staple for what a highly priced experience at Walt Disney World can get you from a meal standpoint, where it's great food, it's great ambiance, and you get the fireworks view, which is the huge bonus. You know, can Space 220 give you something that feels like not only do you get your money's worth with the food, but you get a little bit of experience on top of that?
Well, I mean, they're all screens, right? So you can basically just turn them into fireworks. So, I mean, that's even better. I would think.
Well, so that's the thing with screens, is you can do anything or you can do nothing. You know which they've opted for, because they could do some really cool things.
If you could pull it back to old school Epcot and say that this is more edutainment, right? So it's inserting that again. Well,
and I mean, they own so much space IP that you could have all kinds of Easter eggs roaming through there, and that would be really cool to do. Whether they do that or not, because it wouldn't be in theme, I don't know. Everything I've heard was they're hiring international staff because they want it to be like the International Space Station. I'm just now learning from you, Kevin, that it's a fake elevator, that I'm not really going 220 miles up above the Earth. So that's devastating. But I do think it's interesting. You make a great point. We don't know what the food is, but already Stephanie's ready to drop a Scrooge McDuck amount of money to make her family go to this thing, and she doesn't even know if the food's going to be any good. Which
we love freeze-dried things.
I would assume the food would be good, but also a lot of times when the theme is amazing, the food is not. Like, I mean, I mean, I'm just going to say it. Cosmic rays. Anyway, so we'll move on to the next one.
I hope it's not. I think it's more. To Kevin's point, I hope it's more like California Grill and less like Rainforest Cafe.
It better be. Although, I mean, spaceship, like shaped chicken nuggets. Anyway, so so Kevin kind of alluded to this earlier. Now we know that there's going to be Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas Time Parade, which, when I read it out loud, does not sound anything like Mickey's Very Merry Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. So obviously, we're seeing the same thing happen here, where they're going to do kind of an after hours thing, very similar to what we're going to be seeing in or what we're seeing for Boo Bash. Looks like it starts November 8th, which again, I mean, we're just going to be like, discounting candy at 50%. So again, Coach, heads up. But you're going to be able to get like all this discounted candy, and then we're going to be going in like, full Christmas mode, which my wife always hated that because she loved Thanksgiving. And so the idea of skipping over this this holiday just always frustrated her. But like, I can guarantee there's already going to be Christmas stuff in stores by the time November 1st rolls around. So I guess it's not too weird to see that Christmas stuff up. And again, it
is weird.
Yeah. So we talked about Halloween and how soon you want that up. But Stephanie, how do you feel about Christmas?
So we have done that transition. We went to the last Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party one year, and then we waited the week and did Very Merry Christmas Party. And they transition after that last Mickey's Not So Scary. They will take out everything overnight, and they will plant poinsettias, and they will put the tree up, and it's just an overnight turnaround. And then they add to it throughout the week. So it is very strange. So you have to go grab a turkey leg somewhere in Frontierland. But it was neat to see that transition done.
Yeah. So for the rest of this time, we're going to spend it debating poinsettia or poinsettia from here on to the end of the show. So just, grab some popcorn. Grab some popcorn. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get into it. And no, we're not going to do that. Coach, are you excited? It's Christmas.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think it seems like this is what, almost like Kevin said, they sort of almost underwhelmed us with the Halloween lack of Boo Bash and kind of over-delivered here until you find out how much it costs, especially as you start getting towards Christmas. You kind of go, wow, okay, that's a lot. So they really don't have much of a choice. If they're going to be charging upwards in some cases of $250, they really need to make sure that they're getting it done. So I think it's one of those things that, they're having the specialty fireworks, they're having all these things, and it sort of seems like they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. Well, we can't have this parade because of COVID, but we know, unlike anybody in the world apparently, that in 8 weeks that it's going to be fine to do them again. So I think it's going to be an awesome time. I can't wait to see what the videos are. I'm assuming it's going to be massively crowded. Just because of the fact that people want to see this. So it's an exciting time in the park. That transition with that Christmas tree in the middle of Magic Kingdom is something that's just really cool. You just walk in and it's like, okay, take a picture in front of the big presents. So it's definitely a good time. Hopefully it lives up to the hype.
Yeah. Kevin, you think you hate Halloween. Wait till you see Christmas. How are you feeling about this? I mean, it's a real parade, right?
Yeah, so as much as I come off as Scrooge about a lot of things, which is fair and accurate, I'm pretty excited about the Christmas party. Where I am at with all of this is something you said earlier, which is, we're just happy to have it back. And I'm really scared that that's Disney's new business model, is they took everything away, and now they'll give you a little bit back and charge you more for it, and you will be grateful for it. So that doesn't mean it can't be a good thing. It doesn't mean it can't be fun. I talked to my girlfriend about going to the Christmas party, and we're planning to in December when it's Christmas time, just as an aside there. But would we get as much as we would have gotten for less money 2 years ago? I don't think we can really count on that.
Well, Kevin, since we've established that you and I are friends, let's go get our Christmas picture taken.
Absolutely, I'm there.
Let's do it. I can't wait. It's gonna be a great Christmas card this
year.
We
will coordinate both our dates and our outfits.
Yes, please. So let's move on to something that is so ridiculous that it hasn't already happened that it almost makes me angry. So we were talking about like holiday merchandise, and I love the Halloween merchandise. They put a limit of 2 items for per person on Halloween, and then they turned around and did the same thing for this 50th anniversary merchandise, which we're going to talk about in a second too. It is ridiculous that this didn't happen before now. The limit was like 10, and so almost in homage to that, whenever we put up something on carouselproducts.com, I always make it limit 10 because I think it's hilarious. And it just entertains me. So, but I mean, again, Kevin, you're in the parks with these folks all the time, the eBay resellers. And we just say resellers on here. I'm going to go ahead and use the word eBay because that's really where they're making their cash money. I mean, why did it take so long?
That's a good question. And we're still not even at the point where I would say we're close to enforcement, which is a lot different from even policy being put in place. I don't know. Maybe they never acknowledged the impact of if guests in your park can't get it, they're going to be frustrated. And as they are making the parks more and more of a premium product, at least from the pricing standpoint, asking people to spend more and more to come stay on property, to come into the parks, to stay for special events, and you can't even keep merchandise in stock to sell to them for them to give you more money, then you're upsetting people who are anyone else. And I think really what it comes to more than anything is their highest spending customers and not able to spend as much as they wanted to. And when you, as a business, are not making it easy for your customers to give you money, you're not running your business.
Yeah, and for me, because I am addicted to merch at an unhealthy level, when I can't get my hands on something and it's like, hey, I've spent all this money to go there because I'm not a local. I've spent all this money to go there, and I get there and I can't get whatever it is because it may not even be something that most people want, but there were enough people that want it that the eBay seller went, we're gonna get this, and we're gonna take all of them, and we're gonna put them online. I out of principle never buy like wishables or anything like that from eBay resellers at above prices, just because. Now, if they've really gotten stuck with something, and I can like take advantage of that, I'll buy like old snack wishables for like $3 each. But
well, and the other end of the equation, Disney, after all these years, has yet to establish a functional online shopping presence. So that's the other thing. It's not even in store, but online, they need to partner with Amazon. They need to stop being a fulfillment company and just the marketing arm, because that's the other is people can't trust Shop Disney either to get things online.
Yeah. So I agree with you on that 100%, but there was an app in between, right? There was the Disney Parks app where you could buy merch from the parks, and I loved it. And you could actually use your AP, and it was fantastic. I don't know why they stopped doing that. I assume that they were targeting me specifically because it made me happy. Okay. All right. So let's let you talk about that then a little bit, Stephanie.
I completely agree. I do not like the Shop Disney app because it's linked to the Disney Store, which still is in existence in certain locations, but for the most part is very terrible to try to have to get anything off of. But the Parks app, you were able to use your AP discount and such. When are they going to come out with a personal shopper, if you will, and you just, maybe it's in the Genie, I don't know, but you put in what you're looking for and they go to that location and the Emporium or whatever store it is, and they pick it out for you and ship it to your house. When are they going to do that?
Well, I mean, that's kind of what they were doing with that app, like the Disney Parks shop, like that. They were kind of doing that, is that you would be able to get stuff from that. So, and if you want the personal shopper, unfortunately, you have to go to Facebook. Who knew? Again,
Right.
It seems like a missed opportunity to let those, people who are independent, like eBay resellers, or, I mean, I feel like that's the same kind of thing as, God forbid, like, I hate to almost say this out loud, but in states where they legalize these substances that have been illegal, and then what that does is it takes it off of, like, being a a crime thing and becomes like, you know, a like a regulated thing, they should take all this under their wing, and they don't. And that's, again, maybe another conversation for another day. But Coach, I don't know if you want to weigh in with this one before we move on to the next one.
Yeah, just real quick. I think it's one of those things where and this is a classic $10 rant. And I have money. I want to give you money. I want you to take my money so I can buy the thing that's behind the counter, but you're making it difficult to do that. And she's 100% right. Why are we not tracking what APs are spending in the park? And I think it goes to Kevin's point. They license to everybody else. Why would they try to be a fulfillment center? There's too many options here. And as somebody, if only the person running the company was like made their wealth and all their quote unquote legend in merchandising, man, that would be interesting. Maybe he would know something like that, right? It just seems like missed opportunities all over the place. I don't get it. And then, the exciting thing is that now they want to launch more Disney tech because they're so great at that. So it's amazing to me. Like, you ordered $200 worth of stuff and we don't have it anymore. Sorry. It just tends to me like when you're trying to make money. So I stole the Diffendall rant, but I stand by it.
I feel like Coach is looking for a fist fight with Chapek tonight. I feel like that's literally the thing that we're witnessing right now. So
just facts, baby. We speak truth here. That's all.
Okay. So let's talk about some merch now that we're talking about merch. This came out this week. So this is so weird to me that there's pre-celebration merchandise. This is the merch that comes out before the merch. And again, I mean, clearly they know how to like take every penny that I have and then some. So I mean, they've got pre-merch. But like, I love this lithograph. I think that looks great. I think that this shirt actually is one of the nicer looking iridescent shirts that I've seen. And then the Magic Band looks really cool. This shirt is definitely interesting as well. But I think the Magic Band, definitely stood out to me on that one. Kevin, did you see any of this merch in person, or has it all just flown off the shelves at this point?
No. Well, yeah, no, it hasn't flown off as quick as you might think. I just even said in chat that I dare say they did a good job of ordering sufficient stock. Now, not as good as they could have. For example, the one item I've been after, and I only worked in the parks over the weekend, was the tumbler. I was like, I kind of want this tumbler. It's the one thing. You see the merchandise collection behind me. This is the extent of my Disney merchandise, so I very rarely buy things. But I'm like, I want this tumbler, and it's the one thing I can't find. I was at Magic Kingdom yesterday and a couple resorts, and then 2 parks today, Epcot and Animal Kingdom. None of them have it, but they do have all of the apparel, the Magic Bands, the pins. They're quite a bit of it, and same with the Halloween stuff. They're keeping that in stock even better. So considering the huge drops this week, Halloween and 50th, it's nice merchandise. The 50th it's attractive. It's tasteful. The colors are nice, better than the castle. It is very nice merchandise. I think it's very well done, and I'm hopeful for what comes. And they're doing a pretty good job of being in stock too. Not everything, not every item, not every size, but all in all, pretty darn well as far as the parks go.
So you're saying it's not the people who do the 2020, 2021 merchandise that is always... I don't know. And no offense if you like that kind of merchandise. I don't know. It's a thing. Coach?
Yeah, I think when we were there recently, there were a lot of people asking about the 50th merchandise, wondering where it was, looking to purchase it. We were celebrating a 50th wedding anniversary, so we had a bunch of 50th stuff on. My wife had made a bunch of shirts because she's awesome at that kind of stuff. And everyone was just like, "Oh, wow, where'd you get that?" And my wife was like, "I made it in my living room." So there were people that were just looking for that stuff, and cast members were stopping us. "Did you get that at the Emporium?" And they were just like, it was funny. We were just like, "No, we got it in Connecticut." So it was just one of those things where people were really clamoring for it. I saw in chat that they said online that obviously when it works, apparently people were trying to buy stuff like crazy. So there was a lot of pent up demand for it. I think it coincided with the fact they had put the actual 50 logo on the castle while we were there, just before we got there. So I think people kind of got in the spirit of it. But the merchandise looks really cool. I mean, the kind of Spirit jersey is pretty cool, and they know people are going to buy it. So I think the vintage versus the new, I think there's going to be people that are going to buy both. So I think it hits both markets. Looks like some cool stuff.
I definitely like these pins, these retro postcard pins. I assume they're probably long gone. They were limit of 3,000, but this is the first 2 of a set of 4. And again, I'm not a huge pin fan, but when it's something like this, I usually try to get one if they're around. Stephanie, do you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, so you got to go over to Unplanned Downtime and watch unboxing, because they had the whole thing with Axel, gave you the loophole as far as that 2 limit per person deal goes. I'm not going to say it here, but anyway, so go over there and check that out, because that was a good episode with the 50th merch.
And aside from that, the other thing that came out, and I don't know if you guys have thoughts on it yet, is that they announced that for the 50th, the anniversary song. So, which, you can only hear parts of it. And again, you can find it on our website. You can hear parts of it in the background. They don't play the full thing. But the parts of it that they play just feels like a Disney song. So, I mean, I feel like I don't really need any feedback from this, because we're going to move on. But I just wanted to put that out there. So there you have it. Everybody's like, what do I say to that? I don't know what to say to that. So let's move on to you kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, because if there's one thing that we always talk about with Disney is how great they do technology, and they've got this Genie app that's coming. And when they announced this at D23, this to me was the least impressive thing that they had talked about at D23, because what I feel like, and I could be wrong on this, but what I feel like they're going to do is they're going to send people who don't know any better to things that don't have lines, and so like people will go, oh, the Genie recommended to me that I should go do the China Circle Vision movie, or that I should do I mean and it's just like, but and I get that it's probably made for people like the Hendricks family who don't actually come to Disney all that often, or it may be their first time, but I hope that that's not what's going to happen with this. But when I look at that, I think, that's what's going to happen with this, is it's going to recommend things to move people to other places, and it's going to move them to meet BB-8 and not go to, I've met BB-8, he's a great guy. I'm just saying, I don't think that it's going to have our best interests at heart. Stephanie, I'll start with you on that. Do you agree, disagree, thoughts, comments, concerns?
I do agree. And if you're going for the first time, talk to somebody who goes regularly, or at least get a Disney planner, like our travel partner that Camilo works for. And that they can get you a touring plan, written touring plan, that you go to these rides and you know exactly which one to go to, where to go in the park. I don't think this is what the Genie is going to be doing. So I think it's going to probably end up being, like you said, just moving people around, making sure that this line over for Peter Pan isn't as long as, say, the Small World or Ariel ride or something like that.
Yeah. Kevin, am I off on this? I mean, am I missing some great thing here?
We don't really know yet, do we? I think going to be a big part. And I almost think kind of like when you're flying, and if it's on an airline that offers first class, where as that flight gets closer and closer, they're throwing out offers for you. And I think it's going to be a lot of that, and specifically when it comes to things like FastPass, I think it's going to be the sort of thing where, I think you're on point with certain things where it's going to say, oh, Journey or Little Mermaid is a low wait time right now. You could go there, or for $12 per person, we could get you onto Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And I think it's going to be a lot of ups and things that are what is it when you're at the checkout and impulse buys sort of thing. Not too concerned from our standpoint, regulars, because I think it's like park passes, I think it's like fast passes, it's like dining reservations. I think we know that diligence will get you what you need when you need it. It could be the kind of the in between, the casual goer with not deep pockets that's not going to get anything out of this, if I had to guess.
I just feel like it's like I'm looking at the wait times. I know where the shorter lines are, like, I can figure that out. I feel like most people can figure. I don't feel like that's a hack. I feel like that's just like it's a thing. So the fact that it's going to suggest these things, if you're just looking at the app, that would be different. Also, I think a lot of people have the question of, is it its own app, or is it like Play, where it's sort of embedded in the My Disney experience? And, you know, I think that's all these are things that we're going to wait and see. Because I didn't give you a chance to talk about this, Coach, and because your guy says, this is straight from the CEO's mouth, Coach, so you know it's real, that it says guests will spend less time in line. That's a good thing, right?
Yeah, I think he also said he was going to raise capacity to do 100%. So there's that. I think it just, real quick, I think this hurts the people that don't plan. If you're, or in a way, it's going to lead to virtual queues all over the place. And we've seen how great those have worked. I think what a lot of people do is they'll pull the app out and they'll go, all right, what's a short line? Let's go here. Let's try to go here. Let's try to do this. That may help that, to try to put a semi-positive spin on that. If I don't have to and it pops up and says, hey, you can go here. But the other side of the coin, too, is these wait times aren't accurate. As somebody was in the park very recently, they're putting up 60-minute wait times, and it was really closer to 40. We rode Rock and Roller Coaster. I rode with my niece. She was all excited, and she was like, oh, my God, it's going to be like an hour. And I'm like, it's probably going to be like 42 minutes. And I think it was like 41 because they just inflated the wait time. So does that affect it in terms of, well, this ride is 30, which that ride's really 45, but that ride's actually 45 as opposed to, you know, something that isn't. So it'll be interesting to see. Maybe it'll be the first time that they do a good job with tech. I don't know. There's a first time for everything, I guess, right?
It could be. A broken clock is right twice a day. Is that what they say? We're running a little bit behind, so I want to lightning round this a little bit. I'm going to start with Stephanie. Just have you comment on this. The Princess and the Frog, there was an announcement, or I guess an interview, where they were talking to some folks that said, hey, this is still coming. This is still in development. This is still a thing that's going to happen. I mean, you know, we definitely know that we need to see a reimagining of Splash Mountain. You know, do you foresee this, like, you know, just a guess? Do you think this is going to happen, I don't know, in our lifetimes?
Yes, I do. From Louisiana, in the lifetime, yes. I can't tell you when, but I actually prefer if they would keep the Splash Mountain the way it is at Disney World and build their own Tiana ride. That would be amazing. And then over at Disneyland, I could see that fitting well near New Orleans Square. Absolutely. But having lived in Louisiana all my life, we don't have mountains here. So.
No, I think they could change this and not have it be Tiana and build her something that is worthy.
Right.
I think that's.
Absolutely.
I think it's kind of an
Completely
overcorrection, as what we've seen along the way. I'm going to throw this next one to Coach. They've you know, in this era, we need more things that everyone can put their hands on and touch. And they've reopened up the interactive queue here at Big Thunder. Did you ride Big Thunder when you were there? Did you miss not having an interactive queue?
We did. I will say it didn't matter. My children still tried to make it work, even though it didn't. We missed it by a couple of days because they didn't care, because they're kids and they don't know any better. But yeah, it's a huge part of it. When you're waiting in lines and the lines are that long, it does make it go by a lot faster. And if you haven't been in that queue and done the interactive, it actually is kind of cool. There's a bunch of little things that happen that are pretty neat. If you've always kind of just wandered through it, you can actually enjoy the experience a little bit, especially if you have little ones. So I think a little bit better than the Play Parks app that they have that no one ever uses. This is something that I think is kind of the point of it, right? The theming of a ride is something that we used to take pride in, and when we have that, we should have it open.
Lots of shade coming from Coach tonight. Okay, so this one's coming your way, Kevin. So they added some more food booths today. Some of these, I guess, we didn't know were coming so soon. We thought some of this stuff was going to be for, I don't know, saved for October 1st. But specifically, there's the Lobster Landing and also this Mac and Eats booth. You know, you've sampled these. Good stuff, bad stuff, thoughts?
Yeah, overall good stuff. Lobster Landing booth was okay. Lobster tail was very good. Lobster tail. Other two did there were okay. Other booth, Mac and Eats, was definitely a winner. Edition for there. Tradition cheese was fantastic. variations, one of them vegan, were all good. Some better than others, but all good at our ranking. You know, kind of like the Halloween decorations, good any time, but weird in August. These things will taste better 95 degrees out, but they're good additions, and take better than brewing, which was a bad addition, unfortunately.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, like in the heat, it's like I'm thinking, what I could really go for is a lobster tail. It's like 112 degrees, and I would love to go just grab a lobster tail from a food booth and stand on a trash can and eat it. It would be fantastic. I mean, no, but I mean, it's good to hear good reviews of these, because I think a lot of times, people are going for food and wine for these food booths. And, I've talked to people before. It's like, hey, I've never eaten at, Regal Eagle, because every time I go, it's during a festival, which is, 90% of the year anyway. And so, a lot of people look forward to these food booths, and I'm glad that we have all these reviews, courtesy of Kevin and crew, are up on WDWNT.com, and you can check them out today. And then the last thing in our panel, or around the hub, is that Beauty and the Beast, the show, came back today. And let me just go around and get thoughts on this one. Coach, you take the kids to see this one when it was open? Do you love it?
Yeah, I do, actually. My daughter's a huge Belle fan. It's her favorite Disney princess, and any live entertainment I'm going to support. So any opportunity we have a live show, cast members that are coming back, that are actors, that are live performers, I think is what makes Disney World special. So a lot of people like to kind of throw shade, if you will, at that particular show, but I think it's really well done, and I think it's cute. And if you've got a family and nice place to sit down, cool shade, and I think it's a good show. I'm glad it's back. I hope more stuff follows.
They throw shade, and it has shade. Kevin, what are your thoughts, and why are you Team Gaston?
He's got good jokes, I'll say that. No, I mean anything back is good. You mentioned earlier, like the Sanderson system. I'm not a hocus pocus person, but a show was a show, and studios needs can get it. Indiana Jones badly, it needs Little Mermaid badly. So welcome back. I probably won't go see it, but I'm glad it's there.
And they've done a renovation of this theater too, so that's very cool. Stephanie?
Yes, we will go see it in September. Got to support the entertainment, and I completely agree with Kevin. We got to get Indy back.
Yeah, I mean, there is just the capacity alone. This thing needs to come back like yesterday. And then, the guy in the flowery shirt that they just accidentally pulled from the audience, I hope that comes back with that as well. You know what? Some things are timeless. They just need to keep them the way they are, maybe. I don't know. Thank you guys so much for talking with us. We are going to take another quick commercial break, and we are going to come back, and we're going to have a panel discussion about guests ruining the magic. Not you guys, other guests ruining the magic. And Kevin, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I appreciate it. Go enjoy some Amazon Prime.
Thanks.
All right.
Welcome to Deep in the Plus. Each week, join host Rob Whiteside and a panel of Disney superfans as they take a different movie or TV show from the Disney Plus catalog, tell you its history, details, give their review, and let you know if it's worth your time. Current shows, classic movies, and everything in between. Watch Deep in the Plus live Tuesday nights at 9 Eastern for new episodes, or catch Deep in the Plus anytime on YouTube at unplannedDowntime.com.
This program and many more are brought to you by WIGS, the WDWNT Interglobe Society. Support WDWNT to get early and exclusive access to content you can't find anywhere else, including exclusive post shows for WDW News Tonight, ParksCenter, and Cosmic Read live each week, exclusive programs detailed, and our comedy riffing show, Ride Rehab Watches, access to our Discord community, and much more, with tiers starting at $2 a month. For more information, visit patreon.com/WDWNT or visit WDWNT.com and click the Patreon link. Join Wigs and unlock even more WDWNT.
Hey guys, welcome back to ParksCenter again. If you have not, please give us a big thumbs up. And WDW Mickey, thanks so much for the super chat. We really appreciate it. We love bringing you the show week after week. Every Sunday night, 8 p.m. ParksCenter. We hope we're giving you all the information that you want, information you need. Please leave comments. We want to hear back from you, below. And again, thank you so much for being with us. So, this is a rarity for me because I know that there was another guy who used to come on and do rants, and I don't normally do a rant, but this actually bothered me a little bit this week, and because I know that our website wrote a story about this, the decals being pulled from the walls at Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So, you know what, that's horrible, and I get that, we're blaming Disney for that because they're building things on the cheap. But I do think that there are times where the guests actually ruin the magic. And so, and a couple of instances about that, I was a cast member for a while. There were times where, people I did a spiel and people would talk all the way through the spiel. I've seen that happen to other people, Jungle Cruise. And that's not right. That shouldn't happen. Back in the day, you see all these old videos of people going to Disneyland, and I don't expect everybody to wear like a fedora and a sports coat and high heels and dresses when they go to the park. But when they went because Disney was a magical place and it was special. And I know that we kind of compare sometimes to Six Flags or King's Dominion or Hershey Park, and we say, you know what, Disney should be held to a higher standard, and I think that they do have a higher standard. They do set the bar pretty high, and we do come down on them a lot because as super fans, we want them to be better. But also, I think that in some cases, we need to be better. There are so many situations where I'm at, Happily Ever After, and somebody decides to stand up on something and block my view because they have 7 followers and they want to stream live to them. That drives me insane. I feel like that at that point, I want a cast member to come in and take care of it. And so now I'm relying on Disney to police that situation for me. And really, it needs to be about us policing ourselves. I don't think that there's anybody who hasn't had, their foot run over by a stroller at some point because somebody is, too close. Those little things can ruin your day. But a lot of these things that happen in the park, are ruined by guests. And as a matter of fact, something that I've said before too is I wanted to get to Galaxy's Edge early before people figured out like what they didn't like proof, super proof or moron proof in the parks, right? And already I think that gate that is around the Millennium Falcon was probably not intended to be there, but they were like, hey, you know what, somebody's going to come and mess with us, we should probably put a fence up around it. There are a lot of little things like that happen that I think if I'm not there at the opening, I may see a lessened experience because somebody has screwed up something. Toy Story Land, again, we give it a lot of flack for being built on the cheap, but some of the stuff that happened to it was pulled apart and picked apart by guests that they just didn't, they weren't able to see what things could be kept, I guess what things guests were going to lay into. So with our panel tonight, and we've got Stephanie and Coach, thanks for staying with us, and then Desi, this is like your 7th show in a week. I think you were on Deep in the Plus, and then you were on Ink and Paint, and then you were on Deep in the Plus episodes, and then you were on News Tonight. I don't know if you took a break in between then and maybe did some Resort TV 1 and some Tim Tracker stuff. Great for you if you did. But we appreciate you being on here, so thank you. I've had my little bit of a rant there, and again, I love Disney. I really do. I drank the Kool-Aid and said, please, sir, may I have some more? I was a cast member there. I don't think a lot of people work at McDonald's and then come back and go, let me get another hamburger. But I go back as a cast member who had been there. And as a matter of fact, I still, when I go there, and Stephanie, former cast member, will probably do this, I gesture. I don't point when I'm there. Like, for some reason, I still am like, I'm in this mode for that, because it's rude. And I don't know that I do it in my own life, but when I'm in the parks, for certain, it's over this way, folks. Where is it? It's over there. My kids make fun of me for that all the time. I'm always tempted to pick up litter because, again, we had that.
I have.
Yeah. So again, we compare this, in a lot of ways to other parks, but I think that there's something special about the magic. And I've done my rant here. So, Desi, since you're first on the scene here tonight, I want to get your opinion. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Have you run into situations where you feel like the guests sometimes are? And again, nobody who's watching tonight, because everybody here is great. But where you've seen that issue come up? Oh, you're muted. Womp womp. What I meant to say was Stephanie. Stephanie, what is your take on this right now while Desi finds her sound, her voice?
Yes, as a former cast member myself, I agree. You want to remain within the Disney experience. You want to have the magic for everybody, and you want to preserve what we were able to go through, those years ago for your children, and so forth and so on. I have definitely witnessed this. People heavily get onto guest relations a lot, and I really feel bad for those cast members because they are feel entitled. They really do. They feel entitled because they spent all this money, and maybe it is because the parks are so expensive now, and they're not just a pay for each ride or pay for this lower entrance fee, but you have to pay so much money, and now you feel entitled to get something for free or get something extra when you don't see Cinderella at the breakfast, and well, where is she? And I love that skit that they did on Walt Disney World News Tonight, So anyway, but I think that is something that we just have to give a little grace and take personal responsibility. Each person has to, really regulate themselves and their children, because I think that peeling of the paint or the decal, so it is over at Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, there is like children height. It's chair rail height, so it's probably kids.
Yeah. Desi, can you cough once? I still can't hear you. You see, now we're gonna have to talk to Brian, Coach.
See what you did, Desi? You ruined it for everybody. No, I think like anything else, you don't know. The approach I've always taken as someone who got into Disney late in my life. Fortunately, my wife is cool and she got me into the club. It's one of those things where you don't know how we've gone a bunch, but all the super fans are great, but it might be somebody's first time going on something, and you're talking through a pre-show, or you're just repeating words, and I know it's something that Tom does every now and then, and it's funny, but like if you're standing next to someone who's never actually seen a show or gone through a pre-show, you're ruining their experience, right? You're ruining the opportunity. It may be the first time they've ever gone, it may be the first time they've gone in 10 years, and there is kind of an experience there. The whole point of Disney World is to get inside the bubble and get away from the real world. We're here talking on a Sunday night about things that really aren't all that important in the grand scheme of things, but we're passionate about it, and we care, and we want to have that experience where Rob's shaking his head no. Have that experience where it's important for everybody to have that experience. You get that opportunity to walk down Main Street and hold my daughter's hand and see the castle and all that stuff. That stuff's powerful. And when you've got people that are just stopping for no reason, that's my favorite one. People you're pushing your stroller and they just decide we're just going to stop for no reason and look at my phone. So that's the thing, is that you got to be courteous to others. Just be a good human, and make it better for everybody else.
Yeah, I mean that awareness of people around you, like you just said, like people who stop in the middle of nowhere, and like in a crowded way, and they just stop and they start looking around at maps, or they just start talking to somebody, and it's just like, do you not have any spatial awareness whatsoever, really? And again, I think we, like, especially with COVID, we expected the cast to save us. and they did in a lot of cases. And I always bragged about the fact that if I went to my local grocery store, they were not enforcing masks, but at Disney they were enforcing masks when they were supposed to be enforced. And that, to me, I appreciated that they were doing that. And the same thing when you go into like, an attraction and somebody's making noise, you looking around for the cast member and you're like, Disney, help me. But really, we should be pointing the finger at that person who is making that noise or doing that. When you've got a screaming kid in Carousel of Progress, we know like there's a way to get out. They told you about that at the beginning, so you should do that. That's the problem. Desi? Oh, I still don't hear you. I think maybe she's just lost her voice from being on all those other shows. I think that's probably what did it. Maybe try logging out, logging back in again. I know I sound like the IT guy at every business, but when I say that, but maybe just try to refresh and see if that's the case, because I still can't hear you. Sorry. When you do get in, Desi, just start screaming and we'll start hearing you. She can't hear me anymore because she took off her headphones. One of the other things that happened was that drove me to this is that both of my grandparents were in wheelchairs, and when we would take them places, that was way before there was so many disability, so many ADA things put in place. And so when I look at this with them having to change this system again, for the rider switch, and this is disability, and this is also for people with kids. This is set up to help people with kids, and yet there are people who will play with this system and play the system and screw with the system. And again, it's almost like unfair, because then what they have to do is they have to put down the screws and go, hey, look, we're gonna try to make this harder for everybody, and then the people who really need it can't have it. So again, I'm going to throw this one to Stephanie and see what your thoughts are on this, especially being having been cast.
So we have a lot of children, right? We have 4 kids. And so we have never gotten a boarding group for Rise of the Resistance. I have been able to ride it, but we have never gotten a boarding group for all 6 people. We've had to lessen our party. So the fact that we could use Rider Switch, and we've had a small child, be able to bring back, 2 people with the person that was sitting out with the child was very helpful for us. So now it just says limited amount. It doesn't give you the 3 people who may return. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to limit that. Is it going to be per party basis? Is it going to be the cast member's judgment? It doesn't specify. So I wish they would. I wish they'd just keep it the same, because people did ruin that, I guess, and that's why they're having to change it in the first place.
Yeah, and speaking of ruining things, Jake the Droid was featured in Tomorrowland, and people put a lot of work into this free roaming droid that would be great for people to experience Galaxy's Edge with droids, and this was part of what was promised to us. And we kind of go back to them and go, you promised this to us and you didn't give this to us. But a lot of if you go back and watch this video, you can see there's a little girl who rides, and I love this freeze on Desi, by the way, so be completely distracted by that. But the little girl is riding on Jake, and I don't think it was feasible to make that happen without a character liaison like they have with Winnie the Pooh or Tigger or whoever else, somebody to be there and to protect the thing, because I feel like people were just letting their kid go, and the one person that filmed it was filming their kid, and just the kid was standing on. I just was like, don't do this to poor Jake. Coach, I know that you're better. You got your kids reined in. So I mean, how do you feel about when people this is ruined, because we were supposed to get this, now we don't get it. This is why they're saying, now there may be other reasons, but this is why they're saying we're not getting this.
Yeah, it's different. I think to Stephanie's point about the entitlement, people spend a lot of money and they think it's okay. We were a family that used Rider Switch a lot. We have 2 little ones, 2 years apart. My son is really tall and really big. My daughter's tiny, so for her getting a ride on rides, when we were there, it was just one person. So it was one of those things where we had a big party with us, and they basically were just like, well, one parent can ride, and we just kind of said, you know what, whatever, we'll just ride it once. We kind of prepared them before that. But to your point about, I mean, last time I was in Disney, I actually saw an adult with a harness on their child and basically like a leash, because their kid was just running wild and they were literally holding on to their kid. And I don't know if it was meant for a small child, but it was literally a harness so that they could keep track of their child. And my response to that is, if you can't keep track of your child and need an actual leash to kind of harness your child in, maybe don't go to Disney World when there's a lot of people running around. So it's just you have to kind of know your expectations, like we say when we plan. If your kid normally sleeps at a certain time, that's when you got to let your kid sleep. Don't be shocked that you're pushing your child when they're incredibly overstimulated 9 hours straight in the park, and then be shocked when they melt down, in Carousel of Progress. So I think there's a responsibility there. And to your point, this is why we can't have nice things. So
I want you to vamp just a little bit more.
No, you did a little mini Diffendall rant, so and I referenced Jill, but no, I just think it's one of those things where there's a lot of really cool stuff in Disney World that there is a respect that goes along with it. There's definitely those of us that care, and everybody that's watching this show, I'm sure, it's when you have trash, you find a trash can and throw it out. You don't just throw it on the ground. So I was never a cast member, but sometimes I see trash on the ground and I'm like, I'm going to bend down and try to pick it up because it's just not supposed to be there. I just think there's a lot of things that, in defense of the whole rider switch thing, the policy itself was kind of vague. You kind of just choose not to ride, as opposed to just you're not big enough to ride. We only used it because our daughter wasn't big enough. We never used it in terms of, all of a sudden the kid decided not to ride type of thing. So I think there was a little bit of gray in the original policy that hopefully they're adjusting, but it should really be that either you're big enough to ride it or you're not. So just my thought on that.
Yeah, I think there was a Tigger bounce in an interactive queue for Winnie the Pooh when it first opened, and when they opened it, they were like, "Oh, we did not guest proof this enough," and so they shut it down and they took it away. And I was like, I never got to Tigger bounce. So I feel like there's a lot of those things that we that I'm betting there's a lot of things that we miss out on. Right. So if you look at that that book that they came out with about Galaxy's Edge with all the sketches and things, and there's like this riding these amazing animals and things that maybe never happen. I got to think some of that's because they just didn't think we could handle it. And they look at things and go, well, we need to guest proof these things, and we are harsh on them when they don't. Again, like Toy Story Land. But I don't know what we've missed out on because we couldn't be kind to the park, could not be kind to each other. That's another one of those things that I think I was on a boat in Frozen. And that's always a hard I don't know if you guys remember fast passes. It's a thing, but it was a hard fast pass to get, and I was able to get one, and we get on it, and my daughter and we ride, and when we were like on it, the people in front of us were holding up cameras the whole time, and the light was in our eyes, and they were talking the entire time, and they were in the front row and we were in the second row. And when I got done, I went and talked to a cast member. I was like unhealthy amounts of angry, but it shouldn't have been to them, but it was because I was allowed. I could be nasty to them because I was just like, I was just angry at this. This is something I planned months ago, and this was the time. This was our moment to ride this attraction and to have this, and then it was ruined. And so they were having a hard time understanding what I was saying, probably because I was yelling. I don't know. I wasn't yelling, but when they were like, okay, yeah, absolutely, go through again. And so they took care of it, and I kind of relied on them to take care of it. Whereas, again, I think we need to rely on each other. So just something to remind you. And Coach, I think you said it brilliantly. It's going to be somebody else's first time. Now I hear Desi. It's going to be good. Yeah. Just that's all the time we have tonight. No. But to Coach, to your point, real quick, is that. You said it's going to be somebody's first time. So even though I know word for word, your ghost host, I don't need to say it out loud. I don't need to. I know that I know it, and the people with me know that I know it. I can mouth it. I just don't need to ruin everybody else's time on that. So, Desi, I want you to have a moment in the sun here. So now that you're all plugged in and ready to go, give us your thoughts. Oh my gosh, please say something. You were literally, I could hear you before, and now I can't hear you. I'm going to cry. I'm literally going to cry right now.
I thought she was just making like she couldn't talk, but she really can't hear her.
Chelsea Chapek's ghost is not happy.
Wow.
Wait, I think I figured it out. Can you
Yay! Yay! Good night, everybody.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I've never been on mute on any of the shows I've been on. It's just all catching up now.
Well, and honestly, we're glad that you could make it tonight, and we appreciate you being on, and we're ready to hear what you have to say. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Oh no. Oh geez. No, go ahead.
My God.
Give us your thoughts.
I will say that one of the best experiences that I've had was when the first time I watched Happily Ever After. We were all sitting there waiting for it to start, and when it started, nobody stood up. We all just kept sitting, and I just watched Happily Ever After for the first time, where everybody was just seated and being polite and considerate of other people, and it was the most wonderful experience I've ever had watching the fireworks, and I wish people would do that all the time instead of, I'm only 5 feet tall, having some really tall dude who's like Jake size standing in front of me with his kids on top of his shoulders, is not fair to somebody who is vertically challenged like me.
Vertically challenged. There you go. So she just needed to stand up for the little people and say, just let's not. So, but again, this is not the main problem, but it is a problem that can derail your vacation. I mean, it really can, especially if somebody has done something, has broken something, has screwed up something, and it's not Disney's fault. We still end up blaming Disney in a lot of cases because they're the magic keepers. They're the ones that keep us safe. They're the ones that keep us entertained. They're the ones that take care of our needs when we're there, and we're spending a lot of money to make that happen. And I think when that experience is interrupted, we blame them. Because we hold them to a higher standard, and we will continue to hold them to a higher standard. But I do think that there has to be some onus on us as the guest to please make sure, whether it's your first time or your 500th time, just please make sure that, to be kind to each other. And I think that's a general statement to all of us about everything. But when it comes down to this little bubble that we have that is Disney and the parks, we definitely need to make sure that we are taking care of people and making sure that they have those great experiences too, so that if it's their first time, that they tell their friends that they had a great time and they want to come back, and not that it was hot and they waited in line too long and that it was too expensive and all those things, because we know those things, but we overlook them when the magic is there. And so, there you go.
Can I just say one more thing?
Close it
Not
out.
just being considerate of people, let's also be considerate of dogs and not leave them in your car at the Hollywood Studios parking lot like somebody did this week.
Yep. So we've gone a little long tonight, but as tradition and on this show, I just want to go once more around and get final thoughts, and we'll start with Coach, and we'll work our way back up to Desi, since she's been hogging the spotlight ever since she got her voice back.
Yeah, so again, I think part of all this is us trying to hold Disney to a higher standard. But again, the reason why we hold them to that standard is because they've set the bar, right? And I think it's important that we continue to get excited about what's going on. Obviously, we're all still here, still talking. We're still buying the merch. I bought this People Mover hat that I love so much. And I think it's just, let's, like, to Rob's point, when you're in the park and I saw a couple different couples that got married, and you say, oh, congratulations on your wedding, or congratulations on this, or happy birthday, like that adds to everybody's experience. Everyone's kind of getting away from the real world for a little while, and that's the whole point, right? The whole point is to get away and de-stress and have a great time, and that was Walt's vision, and I think we should honor that by being nice to everybody. So it's a good segment, and hit the like button and subscribe before you leave.
All right, Stephanie.
I agree completely. And I would say that cast members make the magic, as Walt once said, and as Rob, you have on the t-shirt. So I think that that is true too. And not only do we need to show each other a little bit of forgiveness and grace as we walk through the park and try to navigate the massive crowds now, but we need to give cast members a benefit of the doubt because they do try to make it right. You know, whatever it is that went wrong, they will try to make it right.
Very true. And Desi?
So I know that people go and they feel a little entitled. I spent a bunch of money. I need the most magical experience ever. Well, everybody else spent a lot of money to be there too. So just be considerate of your fellow guests and let's just try to make it a magical experience for everybody.
But don't say have a magical day because people around these parts seem to think that that's an insult. So, yeah. They do. They really do. Again, thank you so much to everyone who watched tonight. Thanks again, WDW Mickey, for the super chat. We really appreciate that. Please make sure to give us a like if you haven't already, because again, it helps people find this show. And also, we're very competitive, and we want our show to be better. But also leave us a comment below too if you have thoughts on any of these topics, and especially the guest one. I would love to hear any stories that you have and any positive that you have too of where Disney stepped up and a cast member did something great. I mean, those casts do so much for us, and so we want to make sure that we acknowledge them every chance we get. So if you are a WIGS member, which is part of our community, our Patreon community, we love our WIGS. Then there is a post show for you tonight. If you are not a WIGS member and you want more information on it, go to go to patreon.com/WDWNT to find out how you can become a WIGS member. We have a huge event coming for the 50th. The Golden Jamboree is October 1st through the 3rd, so you can find out more about that on our website or as a WIGS member. And then also, we just want to make sure that you know that there is a place where you can go buy merch that we have at carouselproducts.com. Don't forget also Thursday night is the WDW News Tonight. Last week was the C episode, and Desi dressed up for it, so you can go check her out on that.
I wasn't there. I wasn't on that show.
Oh, my bad. That was somebody who looked like you. Yes. How ridiculous of me. I don't know what I was thinking. So, again, thank you guys so much for the panel. Thanks to Kevin for being with us. Thank you guys for being with us all the time. We really, really appreciate it. And have a great week. Take care. Magical.